Hello, welcome. We are starting off in the same subject that we had last week. We're reading Luke chapter 14. One Sabbath, when Jesus went to eat in the house of a prominent Pharisee, he was being carefully watched. There in front of him was a man suffering from dropsy. Jesus asked the Pharisees and experts in the law, "Is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath or not?" But they remained silent. So taking hold of the man, he healed him and sent him away. Then he asked them, "If one of you has a son or an ox that falls into a well on the Sabbath day, will you not immediately pull him out?" And they had nothing to say. So, the crazy thing is that this is at a Pharisee's house. Could this Pharisee have had a relative with this condition? Possibly, but it seems like all signs are pointing to the fact that they planted this man to trap Jesus. They didn't invite him for enjoyment or even invite him for a discussion. They just wanted to trap him. Jesus doesn't beat around the bush at all and asks if it is lawful to heal on the Sabbath. Their silence proves that they don't want an argument. When he heals the man and asks what he's asked before, "Don't you take care of your livestock and even your own children on the Sabbath?" But still, they weren't wanting to answer him. When he noticed how the guests picked the places of honor at the table, he told them this parable. "When someone invites you to a wedding feast, do not take the place of honor, for a person more distinguished than you may have been invited. If so, the host who invited both of you will come and say to you, 'Give this man your seat.' Then, humiliated, you will have to take the least important place. But when you are invited, take the lowest place, so that when your host comes, he will say to you, 'Friend, move up to a better place.' Then you will be honored in the presence of all your fellow guests. For everyone who exalts himself will be humbled, and he who humbles himself will be exalted." Then Jesus said to his host, "When you give a luncheon or dinner, do not invite your friends, your brothers or your relatives, or your rich neighbors. If you do, they may invite you back, and so you will be repaid. But when you give a banquet, invite the poor, the crippled, the lame, the blind, and you will be blessed. Although they cannot repay you, you will be repaid at the resurrection of the righteous." Those two examples he gave are all about humbleness. In those days, and in that culture, seating was determined by how important you were, and this was the most essential in a wedding. He is basically saying that no one likes the person that is proud. Many verses, chapters, and books of the Bible make it clear that pride is not something that a righteous man should have. Jesus says that even if you are kind of great, if you're proud, then you deserve to be the lowest. And if you do actually humble yourself, people will gravitate to you more. And maybe they'll be honest and say, well, you're not that great, but they'll be nicer to you because you were nice to them. The definition of exalted is a person placed at a high level and held in high regard. The relationship between humbleness and exaltation is like an equation. It just depends on which one you start off with. Then he says that you shouldn't only surround yourself with people that will help you. The righteous person surrounds themselves with people they can help. There's nothing wrong with taking that parable literally, but I don't think that's the point. It's perfectly fine to invite your family to a picnic, but it's about making hard relationships, ones where there is no benefit at all. I struggle with this. I am very, very, very introverted, and so I just don't make many relationships to begin with. And if I don't benefit somehow, then I don't see the point. So I know I need to work on this. But my parents have been the best role models of this. My dad was doing something for a kind of annoying friend, and I said to my dad, "I think you're too nice." And my dad paused and said, "Well, that's not what God is going to say in heaven." And man, that was one of the most convicting things I've ever heard, but one of the most heavenly things I've ever heard. I've gone a long way before I'm going to get to that point, but I know what that looks like. So let's all get to that point where we can be kind and generous to the people that we don't want to. Thank you.